Hello everybody, Bradley here, and welcome into another Civ 6 video. Today we are talking about trade routes, specifically the yields you get on your trade routes and how to improve those yields. It's one of the questions I've been getting the most recently is, hey, I'm new to Civ, or hey, I've been playing Civ for a while, and I'm starting to send out a lot of trade routes in my games. I find that they're valuable, but what can I do in my game to get the most amount of yields for every trade route? And we're going to talk about that today. So let's hop into a game and talk about how to increase the yields on your Civilization 6 trade routes. It seems to be becoming a habit, but we are using our handy dandy 1 million gold Portugal save that we played on Twitch for this. If you want to catch the stream live, that is in the description, twitch.tv/VanBradley. Also, feel free to head to the VB live channel, also in the description. If you want to watch the stream VODs, but you don't want to watch them on Twitch, you'd rather watch them on YouTube, I just upload them there, and they're there for you to watch, and that should be a fun time. But let's talk about trade routes here. So if you click on a trade route to go to send it, you're going to see all these yields, which with Portugal, these yields are going to be absolutely crazy. What I want to talk to you about is all the ways that you can change those yields in the game. Not all of them will be applicable to every game, not all of them will be applicable to every strategy, but once you're kind of aware of the different ways to increase your trade route yields, that way when you're in the game, you can kind of keep those in the back of your head, and when you want to pull them out, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that VB video where he talked about this stuff. So we're going to go over kind of all the ways that are typical for you to increase the value of your trade routes. The first is obviously leader abilities. Now, this will obviously only apply if you have a leader that has a trade route bonus. Portugal has trade route stuff where you get free trade routes. There are some civs that have trade route bonuses. I think Clio has some trade route bonuses. There's one civ that, gives you tiles for a trade route going through it or whatever it is. So just be on the lookout. If you're really keen on having your trade routes do a lot for you, you can pick a civ that has a trade route bonus. Assuming you haven't done that, though, or that it doesn't matter, and you want to know kind of the more common ways on a game-to-game basis to improve the yields on your trade routes, let's start with trading posts. Now, I've done a video on how to build trading posts. They automatically get built as you send trade routes throughout the city or throughout the game, so you don't need to worry about building trading posts, but they will happen. Basically, what happens is if I send a trade route from here to a city that doesn't have a trading post, by the time that trade route ends, a trading post will have been established. It does a few things that aren't yield related. I made another trade route video that talks about that, but specifically to yields, if you are trading through cities with trading posts, you will be getting more gold on your trade route. Since each trading post extends the potential range of your trade route, you'll often later in the game be trading through multiple trading posts, and that will give you more gold. If I have a trading post in Bibrax here, and a trading post in Adwatica, and I'm trading with Noviodinum, and I go through Bibrax, through Adwatica, and then into Noviodium, and that's my trade route, then I will gain +1 gold for every trading post I go through. So if I go through here, that's +1 gold, go through here, that's +1 gold, and then I'm at Noviodinum, I don't know how to pronounce that, but now I'm here and I've gained +2 extra gold on my trade route because I'm trading through trading posts. As you send trade routes throughout the game, notifications will pop up on the side letting you know that you've established a trading post. If you're not aware of which cities have them, though, you can just click on sending your trade route, and then on the little top here, Samaro Briva has a trading post because it says right here, you have established a trading post in this city. If you look at my cities, though, a lot of my cities will have trading posts because I've sent trade routes from there, and they have established trading posts from me doing that. And some of them might have established trading posts from enemies sending trade routes to me. But you can see almost all my cities have trading posts established. Not all of Gaul's do, but as you go through here, you can see Kyoto has one. So yeah, just keep in mind, if you're trading through a trading post, you will be getting more gold for that than you would if you weren't trading through a trading post. The next thing that vastly changes your trading route yields is districts. I think you're catching on now at this time that the longer you are in the game, the better your trading post yields are going to be. Almost all of these scale well with time, so it's not like any of these strategies will get you like +50 gold trade routes on turn 10 or something. But districts are going to make a huge difference, and they make a difference for both international and domestic trade routes. If you want just a brief overview of how districts work, you can load up an endgame save like this, just hover over a trade route, and you will see what you are getting from districts. At this point in this scenario, I want to trade with Kyoto. I'm getting +1 production from districts, +6 gold from districts, 1 science from districts, 1 culture from districts. Basically, if I'm trading with an international empire and I'm trading to a city, their city center is going to give me 3 gold, their campus is going to give me science, their holy site's going to give me faith, encampment is production, commercial hub and harbor are gold, theater square is culture, entertainment complex and water park are food, industrial zone is production, government plaza is gold, and diplomatic quarter is culture. That was a lot to go through really quickly, but what I'm trying to say is, if you are trading with cities, the more districts they have, the more kind of stuff you are going to get. If you want to specify, you're going to want to trade with a city that has a campus if you want science, but mostly you can just kind of look through here, see what the highest yields are, and you can sort them just from the top here. You can show routes from each person, you can show routes from a gold focus, or however you want to do it, but the more districts a city has, the more yields you're going to get from that trade route. That's not overly helpful in the early game when there's not a lot of districts around, but as the game goes on, if one civ is way ahead and you've seen that they built lots of districts, maybe you'll get more yields from that empire if you decide to trade with them. Now, you won't believe this, but districts also dramatically affect the food and production you are going to get from internal trade routes. If you were wondering, how do my food and production get decided on internal trade routes? Let's find an internal one here. Can I trade internally, please? Where are my own cities here? Hello? Here we are. So I'm getting lots of gold from these trade routes, and that's kind of separate things that are going on here. But we're going to take a look at the food in production, because especially early on, food and production are mostly what you're going to be getting from internal trade routes. You can see +3 food from districts, +4 production from districts. Districts are the only thing that change the amount of food and production you are getting from these internal trade routes. If you're keeping track with me here, a city center is 1 food, 1 production, so that's any city center. They'll obviously have one if you're trading with them. Campuses, holy sites, theater squares, entertainment complexes, water parks, government plazas, and diplo quarters give you +1 food. Encampments, commercial hubs, harbors, industrial zones, government plazas, and diplo quarters give you +1 production. City centers, government plazas, and diplo quarters are the districts that are giving you +1 food and +1 production. So if you are trading from a new city, if I go here into the game, if I am trading from Wheel Selly Snipe and I want to get the most amount of food, I want to look for a city that's giving me the food districts, right? But the more districts you build internally, the more yields you will get internally on your trade routes. I hope that's making sense. The next thing that it changes your trade routes up is alliances. And alliances are one of the best ways to get trade route yields in general, because there's 2 different ways to do it here. Now, hear me out. So first off, alliances. They are going to give you different benefits to trade routes depending on what type of alliance. If I hover over a research alliance, it's going to give me science. It doesn't say that here because I didn't plan this out very well. But if I go to an economic alliance, it'll say +4 gold from trade routes to your ally and +2 gold from trade routes from your ally. So not only do you get higher yields on trade routes you're sending to your ally, you get yields on trade routes they send to you. So it's mutually beneficial. Research alliances will give you science per trade route, among other things. Cultural alliances will give you culture per trade route, among other things. Religious alliances will give you faith per trade route, among other things. So if you have a neighbor right next to you, let's say in this example Gaul, and you want to get a lot of science and you have 62 trade routes, you might want to get a research alliance with Gaul and send all your trade routes to him. And I want to be clear, that's not instead of anything. You're still getting the food and the production, the yields, and all the gold, and whatever else you'd be getting from the trade route. But having an alliance just adds to that more than not having it. And that's rather helpful because alliances come pretty early on in the game. Civil service is when alliances come in, so in the medieval era, you're going to have access to that pretty early. And at this time, the AI is probably going to be a little bit ahead of you, so they will have trade routes to send you, which can be quite nice, and you will be able to send trade routes to them, and the bonus is you're not even getting murdered by them. So I definitely recommend this as a way to kind of sneakily get some higher yields on trade routes if that's what you're going for. Alliances don't stop there though, because in the policy card slot, you have Whistle Bankin' as an option. So if I go to the Whistle Bankin' card, I don't have any allies right now, and this doesn't work with city-states, this card mod. But Whistle Bankin' gives you 2 food and 2 production to each trade route from your ally, right? So or with your ally. So if I want to stack food and production in Wheel Selly Snipe, I can send 10 trade routes from Wheel Selly Snipe to 10 different cities in Gaul if they were my ally, and I'd be getting 20 production and 20 food from those trade routes because I'm getting +2 and +2 for each. I want to be clear that's you sending the trade route out, you don't get that if they send it to you. But adding that food and production to international trade routes that are already getting you gold is awesome. And since you have to be allied, you're already getting another benefit. So if I have Whistlebankin and a research alliance here, I'm getting 2 food, 2 production, and 2 science or whatever it is per trade route I send to them. So that's very, very valuable. And furthermore, that stacks really well with democracy. Where are the governments? Here we go, democracy. +4 food and +4 production per trade route to an ally. If you have democracy and Whistlebankin together, that is +6 food and +6 production per trade route to an ally. And often you can just stack those in one city to make a mega food, mega production city, or you can spread them out to some of your smaller cities to have a much more spread out, even growth and production throughout your empire. This is one of my favorite science victory strategies. I often run Whistlebankin democracy and 20 trade routes in my spaceport city to an ally to stack production to launch the space race. So it's a fantastic way to add yields to your trade routes. Traders are also going to get more gold for passing through water tiles, which is why it seems like naval civs always have better trade routes than other civs. I'm not exactly sure on how the math works, but basically, if you're sending your trade route from a coastal city to another coastal city, it's going over lots of water, you're going to be getting more gold for doing that. Trade routes also get an efficiency bonus for going through or over a variety of features. Canals, mountain tunnels, and railroads are some of those features. They might be the only 3 if I'm remembering this correctly. So if your trade routes are going over canals, they're going over railroads, they're going over mountain tunnels, they will be acquiring more gold for having done that because it makes the route more efficient. Each of those 3 has a different way to calculate the efficiency that happens on the back end. It's a little bit weird, and I don't know exactly how to quantify it for you, but just know that later in the game, if you're building lots of trade routes and then sending, or lots of railroads and then sending your traders over those railroads, you'll be getting more gold for doing that. Same with mountain tunnels, same with canals. I loaded up an earlier kind of Japan game here to show you that in the middle game there are lots of cards that will give you trade route bonuses as well. Trade Confederation here is going to give you culture and science for each international trade route, which can be quite valuable if you have a lot of them. Here we have Triangular Trade, 4 gold, 1 faith from all trade routes, so those can be domestic as well as international. There's a few like this that have some good trade route effects. Those are the only ones I've got here, but keep a lookout as you're going through the tech tree here, and maybe you're new to Civ and you're trying to figure out what to unlock here. If you go up to, oh, this is all shuffled. If you go to, I'm trying to think here. Yeah, Raj. 2 science, culture, faith, and gold from each city-state you're suzerain of. Trade routes to city-states receive +2 gold. So that's another example of a card that's going to be giving your trade routes bonuses here. There's a few of them throughout the middle of the game. They all kind of expire by the late game. What is this one here? Yields gained from pillaging, coastal raids, and plundering trade routes are by +50%. So there's a lot of them that have a lot to do with trade routes. So just take a look in your policy cards if you're trying to improve your trade routes in any meaningful way. There might be a card that's doing that for you. There's a few governor abilities that will also affect your trade routes here. Surplus Logistics will give you 2 gold for every trade route ending in the Magnus city. So if you put Magnus in your capital city and send trade routes to that city, the original city will get +2 food. So that's pretty cool if you're a fan of domestic trade routes. Reina's got land acquisition that will give you +3 gold per turn for foreign trade routes passing through your cities. So those aren't trade routes you're sending, but you're still getting gold for other people sending trade routes to you. So that's cool to be aware of. I think those are the only 2 that affect trade routes I'm aware of. I did take a quick peek through, but yeah, just check through here, check through the governors if you're a trade route or a trade route person. I think Surplus Logistics will be the biggest one though. There's a few wonders that will affect your trade routes as well. I would look through all of them just in case. I'm going mostly on memory here. University of Sancor is 1. It's going to give +1 faith for domestic trade routes, which is pretty cool, and then bonuses for other trade routes coming to you. But the faith is the one that you have the most control over here. Tour de Belém is a big one as well. International trade routes from this city, so sending them from the city with the Tour de Belém, receive +2 gold for each luxury resource at the destination. So if you're sending it to a city that has a lot of luxury resources, then there you go. That's a good way to increase the gold for your trade routes. I also think Great Zimbabwe has something similar for bonus resources. Yeah, Great Zimbabwe. Your trade routes from this city, so sending them from the Great Zimbabwe City, get +2 gold for every bonus resource within 3 tiles of the city and in this city's territory. So slightly different, that was my bad. Slightly different, but if you have a Great Zimbabwe in a bonus resource territory, you're going to be getting quite a bit of gold from trade routes from that city. And finally, there are a couple city-states that will also give you some bonuses to trade route yields. Kumasi here is going to give your trade routes to any city-state 2 culture and 1 gold. So you have to be the suzerain of Kumasi to do that. And I believe Venice? Yeah, Venice. Your trade routes to foreign cities earn +1 gold for each luxury resource at the destination, so that's pretty cool there. And also, finally, I'm going to throw Mogadishu just because it's not yield related, but in Mogadishu, your trader units are immune from being plundered on water tiles, so that can be kind of helpful as well. Just a little thing that I'm going to throw into this video while it's on the brain. I think that's pretty much it though. Those are most of the ways I'm aware of to increase your trade route yields in Civ 6. Those are certainly, those encompass all of the strategies I normally use. So if there's another strategy out there that's getting people massive yields, I'm simply not aware of it to use it. I use whistle banking and alliances the most to increase my trade route yields. The rest of it just kind of naturally happens throughout the game. The district building being the biggest one. As you go through the game, you'll be building more districts, the AI will be building more districts, and thus you'll get better yields from your trade routes, and that kind of just passively happens. Same with the trading post, that kind of just passively happens as the game goes along. I would say kind of stacking trade routes into alliance territory is the best way to kind of do what you can to influence your trade routes in a real kind of overpowered kind of way, but I hope this was a good video. The one thing I would encourage you to do is go through all the leader abilities. There's at least half a dozen, maybe more, that do something to your trade routes. It's worth looking through them if you really want to play like a trade route focused game. I would recommend Portugal, but it's just good to know getting into the game if there's any trade route bonuses available for you. Maybe double check some of the city, state, and wonder stuff. I think I covered all the main ones, certainly the ones I use most often. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and at least found it moderately helpful. We're getting to the niche part of Civ tutorials where I've kind of done so many of them and I'm just kind of doing these kind of random ones that people want me to do, so I hope they're kind of what people were looking for. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to head over to Twitter and Discord and join the Discord or follow on Twitter over there. We have a Twitch link and a VB Live channel in the description if you want to catch some live streams. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck with your trade routes in Civilization 6, and we will see you in the next one.